Eddie Howe's Newcastle have been on fine form over the last few months, especially in February where they played 4 games, winning 3, drawing 1, meaning they were unbeaten in February. Recently, they have suffered some big loss against Tottenham and against Manchester City, but nonetheless, Eddie Howe's 4-3-3 system seems to be impressive, and that is what we're going to look at today. In Football Manager, we are going to try and recreate that. Obviously, we're also going to play a game against Chelsea. Hopefully, this 4-3-3 mid-block is going to do us well. In the game as well, we have made some signings. We had over 100 million to spend. I thought, why not have fun? So we made some signings as well. Hopefully you guys are impressed with the signings. If you guys think I should have signed somebody else, then leave it in the comments. Also, if you have any tactical recommendations, leave that in the comments as well, as we are going to be doing more tactical analysis over the next few weeks. So let's get stuck in. So today we're going to be doing things a tad differently. So we are going to be using 2 websites. The first one is Total Football Analysis and the other one is the Mastermind site. A lot of you will be familiar with the Mastermind site, especially on this channel. So what we're going to do is look at these analysis, and then we're going to use these to help us recreate the tactic in Football Manager, and hopefully we can be successful that way. So what we do know so far, of course, is that Newcastle like to operate in a 4-3-3. Most recently against Arsenal, they were very, very impressive, and here is their average positions. So we can see their average positions with their starting 11, and they were fairly aggressive. Now, they're not necessarily always this aggressive, especially against the likes of a Manchester City or a Liverpool. Their starting position was slightly different, but against Arsenal, and we're just going to use this as the general example, they were fairly aggressive. Interestingly, what I've noticed is the 2 wide men on the right, they tend to stay wider. So it looks like they are stretching the play, whilst you got Alex Saint-Maximin on the left-hand side, who is playing or operating as an inverted winger, cutting inside and operating a little bit more narrow than that right winger. But we can see the 4-3-3 shape clearly in practice here. So we've got the left back here, number 33, as one of the centre backs. You got number 5 pushing further ahead from that defensive line, and then you've got your right back in his right back position. The DM, number 39, Bruno Guimaraes, is there. Joelinton on the left-hand side of midfield. Now, he was one of the big money signings before Eddie Howe arrived, and Eddie Howe has kind of fixed his form by switching his positions. He's now kind of an energetic midfielder. Some say a ball-winning midfielder, some will say a box-to-box midfielder. Nonetheless, he is a very energetic midfielder. So number 7 is Joelinton operating on the left-hand side of midfield, whilst Longstaff was on the right-hand side, and then you have Callum Wilson leading the line up top. Now, looking at the Mastermind analysis, though this was written back in January, as we can see here, but as we can read here, Eddie Howe has now settled on a 4-3-3 or a 4-5-1, and what we have noticed is that on the ball, in possession, Newcastle clearly operate in a 4-3-3, but when they do defend in their sort of mid-block, they do drop back, the 2 wingers drop back, making it a 4-5-1. And now let's briefly read a little bit more about Newcastle's principles of play. Newcastle are no longer a kick and chase team. They build out from the back in sort of a 2-4-4 shape. Joelinton and Longstaff will look for space in between the lines of the opposition, as John Joe Shelvey, which recently has been Bruno Guimaraes, anchors the midfield. Their passing is almost always progressive with the forward momentum in mind, but all 3 midfielders can switch play with long diagonals when appropriate. Those switches are particularly key, given that Eddie Howe's team stretch the field and utilize as much as width as they can. So we'll pause there because I believe that we've got some key information now, which is going to quickly head into Football Manager and kind of set those principles in, well, a tactic. So here we're back in Football Manager, and we're not going to completely recreate the tactic right now because we still have to get to the tactic bit of this video. But of course, what we've just read, the attacking width for me, we will be spreading this out wide, so we will generally look out in those wider areas. But we also know that Newcastle like to play out from the back. Now, generally speaking, we may leave this instruction on, but this will come with 2 tactics. Obviously, against the bigger sides such as the Liverpool at Anfield, Manchester City at Etihad, is very unlikely Newcastle or we will be able to play out from the back. The left back will likely remain more reserved, with Kieran Trippier holding a more advanced role on the right and looking to overload the opposition's left hand side. So we will keep that in mind when it comes to setting those player roles. On the left hand side, Newcastle can then have a more direct approach using Saint-Maximin's incessant desire to cut inside on his right foot and Joelinton's solid ball carrying up the field. Saint-Maximin is particularly smart in 1v1 situations, often beating his man and then cutting across their path. With pace to burn, Jonjo Shelvey, or in our case this will be Bruno Guimaraes, can also use his exceptional long passing range to find the ninja in space. And Callum Wilson is also capable of running the channels, which we saw against Arsenal. He was very key to Newcastle on that day, stretching Arsenal's defensive line, and boy, did Gabriel and Ben White struggle that game. So we're going to kind of use that match as an example, but also, spoiler alert, in Football Manager I did sign a new striker because I wanted kind of a crossbreed of an advanced forward and a target forward. I feel at Newcastle we either have Chris Wood or we have Callum Wilson, one or the other, whereas I bought a striker who I feel can do both. So now we can look at this and look at Newcastle's pass zones, and again this is only going to back up the fact that Newcastle do like to get the ball out wide, where we spreaded our attacking width to wide. We can see here for Newcastle's pass zones that they do like to get the ball out wide, heavily on the right hand side against Arsenal on this day, but generally speaking they like to use both flanks. We can also see their creation zones here as well. It is the wider areas where Newcastle did create the better of their opportunities against Arsenal. But that's them in possession. They have been equally impressive, if not more impressive, out of possession as well in their sort of mid-block. Out of possession, Eddie Howe's 4-3-3 quickly becomes a 4-5-1. What makes it more of a 4-5-1 than a 4-1-4-1 is Jonjo Shelvey's high position with the second line of pressure, and he is often one to step up on the opposition's defensive midfielder when necessary. The shape holds steady and true throughout both the low block and mid block phases, with the 4-3-3 only coming back to life in the high blocks on goal kicks. So what we do know right now is that they do like to operate in a sort of mid block to low block dependent on the opposition, but if the opposition are trying to build up from the back, Newcastle will try to stop that. One impressive thing is that Newcastle centre backs are really good on the air, or in the air, sorry, so they can afford to press the opposition's centre backs, close out the wider areas as well, forcing the opposition into long balls where Newcastle can now recover the ball back. Their pressing numbers and metrics are all up under Eddie Howe in comparison to Bruce, with an actual high block now taking place. Joelinton remains the team's most active presser of the ball, particularly when it comes to counter pressing. Speaking of Newcastle's aggressiveness off the ball, I found this part intriguing. A more aggressive right-sided central midfielder could also help in that regard, especially in covering for Trippier's runs forward. Now, I've actually again signed a very energetic midfielder in my Newcastle save. I just found that part intriguing because I also shared similar thoughts as well. But let's get back to the defensive duels against Arsenal, where we can see where they attempted most of their defensive duels. Generally speaking, it is Can in a low block, but they do also have a high number, but they did close off in the middle of the park and Arsenal just could not break through their mid block whatsoever. Another thing that I found interesting as well is the loose ball duels. Now, Newcastle won the majority of the loose balls during this game, and this could be an indication of just how on it Newcastle were on that day and how they rattled Arsenal. But what exactly is a loose ball duel? Neither of the players involved have a clear advantage of reaching or touching the ball first, otherwise this would have been an offensive or a defensive duel. Now, that wraps up this brief tactical analysis on Eddie Howe's Newcastle so far. Again, I have heavily based this off their very impressive performance against Arsenal. Hopefully Newcastle kind of build from that performance and just shoot off, even though there's only one game left. But what we're going to do now is go into Football Manager, have a look at the 4-3-3 mid block that I have created. I've also got a 4-5-1 as well. I kind of created two tactics because I didn't feel comfortable enough just using one tactic throughout the whole season. So we've got two, a 4-3-3, a 4-5-1 now. Let's head in to FM. So hello people, we're back in FM and now we're going to create this Eddie Howe 4-3-3 mid block. And to start off, we're going to start off with the mentality. I've actually gone with the attacking mentality just so we can get bodies forward and get the ball further forward as well. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to be playing gung-ho. Again, we will be operating in that mid block, so we're not going to be absolutely attacking, but we are going to be focusing on getting players further forward whilst we break. In possession, We've already got the attacking width wide and play out from the back we kind of set out earlier, and to emphasize on getting the ball further forward as quickly as possible, I've just knocked the tempo one higher. And also we're going to run out the defense because I feel Joelinton, the wingers, the strikers as well, they are decent ball progressors for Eddie Howe, and we're going to try and focus on that or emphasize on that as well. Next is in transition. When the possession has been lost, we're not going to regroup. I find that a fairly defensive instructions, neither are we going to counter press. So we're actually just going to leave this, and when you see it in the match engine, when we do lose the ball, they aren't just completely standing off and dropping all the way back, neither is everybody going to be counter pressing. We are going to be seeing a nice mid block shape. When possession has been won, we are going to counter, and this is just kind of my preferred instruction. We're going to now throw it long when the goalkeeper has the ball. Now for out of possession, when we did look at the average positions during our Arsenal game, the defensive line was fairly high. It was fairly high. Now that could be just because it was against Arsenal. They aren't going to be operating with a higher defensive line every single game, but again, we are focusing on that Arsenal game. The defensive width is set to standard, the trigger press is set to more often, and we are also going to be preventing that short goalkeeper distribution. And that is kind of it for the instructions for the Eddie Howe 4-3-3. These are the instructions. Now it's time for the player roles. In goal, we are going to be using a goalkeeper on just a standard goalkeeper. On the right hand side of defense, we are going to be using that ball playing defender, kind of representing that Fabian Schär role. At left back, we are going to be using a wing back on support, surprisingly, but we are going to be asking him to sit more narrow because he needs to be a little bit more reserved than the right wing back, which is going to be, or the right back, sorry, which is going to be Kieran Trippier, a wing back on support as well. So that there is the back line. We've got two wing backs, a central defender and a ball playing on defender. Now this wing back role or duty, sorry, actually changes in the 4-5-1 as well. So to stress, we do have that focus on that left back being a little bit more reserved than Kieran Trippier. Now in DM, this role was fairly difficult for me to pin down. I am using a deep line playmaker, but to be fair, I probably used every single role possible here apart from the ball with the midfielder. Trying to get that Bruno Guimaraes role perfectly is very, very difficult on this game, but we have gone for that deep line playmaker who is going to be tackling harder. In midfield for that Joelinton role, I have gone for a Carrilero. I have selected a Carrilero. Now the main thinking behind that was to actually support this left winger because he's going to be extremely or fairly expressive. He's going to get the ball, he's going to be dribbling with it a lot, especially in the dangerous areas as well in the middle of the pitch, and I feel the Carrilero is a very good supporting act. So we are using a Carrilero for the Joelinton role. Again, we are using tackle harder, and now for that kind of Longstaff role, we will be going with the box to box, again tackling harder in midfield. Now Eddie Howe does like to press in the middle of the pitch, and I did try to force the opposition in the middle, but to be fair, in Football Manager we were just getting absolutely annihilated. We were getting ripped to pieces when trying to force the opposition on the inside, so I just left the defensive width on standard. Now for the left winger, Alex Saint-Maximin, we are using an inverted winger on attack, and we are going to be asking him to sit more narrow, to be involved in play more as well. And for these two in the average position map, we did see these two inside as well. They were narrow, whereas the two wingers, as I pointed out, or the two wide players, as I pointed out on the right, were fairly wide. So on that right hand side, we are using a winger on attack, and lastly up top we are using a pressing forward on attack as well. And this here wraps up my Eddie Howe 4-3-3. Now if I go to the completed version, we can see it is the exact same. So we've just basically recreated it again. We recreated. And for the 4-5-1, things have slightly changed. Now on the left hand side, we've gone for the winger on attack, and the inverted winger on support is now, they kind of switched positions. They have switched positions. The left back is now a wing back on defense as well. Is there anything else that I've changed here? I have removed play out from the defense as well. So yeah, that is possibly it. That is all I've changed. It is fairly similar to the 4-3-3 4-3-3, but now we are kind of emphasizing a lot on that 4-5-1 shape, which is what we run against the bigger sides, against the Man Cities, the Chelseas, though we are playing Chelsea in this video and we will be using the 4-3-3 instead. That wraps up the tactic. Now, before we get into that game against Chelsea and the results as well, let's look at the transfers that I have made. I have spent a fair bit of money. The first signing that we made was Ezri Konsa at the back. I wanted a ball-playing defender, but someone that was actually better than Fabian Schär on Football Manager. So we did sign Ezri Konsa. The striker that I thought could do a bit of both, being that target forward and that advanced forward, is Patrick Schick, who's got a bit of pace as well, but he's 6'3". He's got some strength to it. He's got some jumping reach. He's got a first touch. My God, has he got a first touch? He can head. He's got a long shot as well. A fairly good striker, as we can see here at the bottom. Managed to score 38 goals in 37 appearances. We also got Bissouma. He is the energetic midfielder that I was talking about that I signed. So we do have Joelinton in midfield partnered with Bissouma, and the very last signing that I made was a right winger, Rafinha, a very, very good signing. He scored 15 with 15 assists as well. So again, we can see he was a very good signing for us. But we are now going to be playing Chelsea, who want Rafinha as well. We're going to be playing Chelsea. We're going to get stuck into that game. Hopefully this 4-3-3 does its job. So let's load up that game. Now, I believe I kept saying Chelsea, but we're actually playing Manchester City. I don't know why I kept saying Chelsea. I absolutely have no idea why I kept saying Chelsea, but we are playing Manchester City. Let's get stuck into this game. Now, actually, what we can do against Man City, because we're the home side, maybe the line of engagement could be higher, but the defensive line drops, so it's still kind of a mid-block, but now it's kind of a highish mid-block, just to kind of stop them from playing out from the back. Here comes Newcastle with a free kick. Patrick Schick! Have we got what? No, how can I be offside? How? Oh, come on. Oh, against Manchester City there. That is so disappointing. But here is Rafinha on another set piece. Dan Burn! We had two good set piece opportunities here. The Bravka play, he throws it out quickly. It's almost like the Arsenal game, like they sense it. They can sense it. Here's Joelinton. Bissouma makes a break and run through the midfield. He tries to chip the keeper. Why? Why would Bissouma, with little flair, try and chip the goalkeeper? That makes no sense. But here's Kieran Trippier. He whips it in. Patrick Schick. Oh, this is mad. We're not going to win this, are we? The first 20 minutes, we have been on top of them. Here comes another corner. Come on. This is, I've never missed so many free corners in a game. This game isn't going to end well, man. Going to end well. So what we're going to do right now is pause it, actually have a quick look at our shape, and you can see, yeah, it's still kind of a mid. We're pushing them back. We are pushing them back. Looking at our passing network as well, we're not extremely high. We're operating kind of on the same level as them, but they're defensive. I don't know what they're doing. It's almost like they're playing deep, Manchester City. Like they allow, we're forcing them deep. That was a good first half. We've been the better side quite clearly. Phil Foden has come on now. We just need to grab that goal whilst Manchester City are getting inside the game. Now here's Kieran Trippier. Oh, what a poor pass. But they kick it long and it falls to Dan Burn. Here's Joelinton. Matt Target now. Plays it down the line to St. Maximin. Rafinha's there hard and low. No, man. Why would you cross it to Rafinha in the air? How we have drawn this game is quite beyond me. There's Ezri Konsa now. Kieran Trippier on the ball. Plays it to Rafinha. Bissouma. Patrick Schick breaks through the Manchester City defense. He's thrown goal. Oh my God. This game's taking the man. Have we not won that game? Edison is I'm fuming. Oh, I'm sorry guys, man. I'm flipping fuming. That there is the match now. I'm fuming. Let's look at the end of the season results. I can't believe that. So at the end of the season, as we can see here in the league table, Newcastle finished third, 38 games, of course, played and finished on 82 points. Now, looking at the competitions, we got knocked out in the fourth round by Arsenal. In the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out in the fourth round by Derby County, but we don't really care for those cups. Patrick Schick was the top goal scorer in the Premier League, coming second with the average rating. Kieran Trippier coming in third. Rafinha coming in second for the assist. Kieran Trippier joint second as well. But we can look at that in a little bit more detail. So we can see here Patrick Schick, the top goal scorer, most assists, the two are joint there. Most shots for Patrick Schick on top of that list. Surprisingly, he also has the most man of the match awards. Looking at the key passes, Kieran Trippier coming in second, Rafinha coming in fourth. Best pass completion, nobody in the top 8. Most tackles won, nobody is there. Dribbles made, Rafinha and Alan St-Maximin even, and that is pleasing to know. Most clean sheets, Martin Dubravka with 13, and for the viewers conceded, Martin Dubravka coming in second with 24 clean sheets. Now, looking at the stats, we scored the third most goals with 78. We had the third most shots for. Fewer shots against, we come in fifth. For the best pass completion, we're not there. Neither are we there for the most possession and for the tackles won. But for the dribbles made, we top that list. Most clean sheets, Newcastle joined second with Manchester United on 18. And for the fewest conceded, Newcastle is there with 31 conceded. So now, looking at the attacking efficiency, Newcastle were aggressive and clinical with their approach. Defensively, we were quiet and impenetrable, so we did attack well and we also defended as well. Looking at the general performance, we are performing well above average statistically, which is great to see. The XG table as well is actually nice to look at. So for the XG, we did expect to score 70, we scored 78. The expected points was 70, our actual points was 82, so overperformed by 12. And looking at the expected positions, third, and we actually finished third. Lastly, we can look at the squad stats. Patrick Schick, he scored 38 goals. Rafinha scored 15. Those were our two top goal scorers. Dan Burns with 8 goals from corners, of course. And Alan St-Maximin scored 7. Creatively, Rafinha got 15 assists. Kieran Trippier got 13. Bruno Guimaraes, pleasing to see, has 9. Joelinton has 7, surprisingly. Matt Target has 6. But I can't lie to you guys, I do feel like I was robbed in that Manchester City game. So I'm going to play Burnley, but it's going to be a very, very cut down version. I'm really going to cut it down in the edits because I don't want this video to drag and be too long. So we're going to play Burnley and it's just going to be a play about game really. We just want to see some goals from this Newcastle team. So let's get stuck into that game before we end the video. Now, in the final version of this tactic, because it's an FM tactic, some of you might want some good results as well. Of course, setting up like this, the point in this video and this tactic wasn't to get the best results. It was just a recreation, so we are going to get some very bad results, of course. But I do feel against Manchester City, we performed very well like this. So we're going to try this against Burnley as well. I'm just going to save it just in case it works out better. And if it does work out better, I feel, because obviously I've played a lot of these games, then yeah, we'll possibly keep it like that. Possibly. Does that even make sense? Let's get stuck into this game, a very bite-sized game. So here's Rafinha with the corner, whips it in. Patrick Schick, 1-0. We couldn't do that against Manchester City, though we had 4 attempts. 4 attempts against Manchester City. We played Burnley and we scored with our first one. It is 1-0. Rafinha whips it in. We can see why Rafinha gets a lot of assists. But Patrick Schick, surprisingly, instead of Dan Burn, heads the ball in the back of the net. It's Ensu Konsa. We've got a funky camera line. We've got a oh! Bissouma, what a goal! I was trying to get my words out of my mouth. I was just saying, we've got a funky camera view. That's what I was trying to say. And then Bissouma just scores an absolute screamer. Wow, 2-0 to the boys. That is madness. I think it's safe to say, yeah, this tactic is working out better with a high line of engagement. Wow. Here comes Ryan Fraser on the right-hand side. He whips in the ball. Lowton heads it out. Here's Matt Target now. He's running wild with the ball too. Whips it in, Rafinha. The ball touches the bar as it goes over. Here's Kieran Trippier with a throw. Throws it to Ryan Fraser. Bruno Guimaraes, Konsa. Plays it to Joelinton. Bruno Guimaraes, what a ball to Kieran Trippier. Oh! Ref, no ref. Don't know ref. 3-0. Of course it's 3-0. That was football. Joelinton, Bruno, look at this ball from Bruno. Oof. Oof. Matt Target with the throw in now. Rafinha plays it back to Target. He's gonna again run wide with the ball because he's instructed to. He just lobs it at the far post. Ben-Mee misses it. It falls to Ryan Fraser. He plays it to Trippier. I thought he's gonna smash it with his left foot, but he thought nah. Bruno Guimaraes has a shot and it goes over the bar. Half time. Burnley haven't had a shot on target yet, which is what the same from the boys. And now I'm going to praise them as well. And Ben-Mee has just taken on Ryan Fraser. Escapes a second booking surprisingly. Rafinha with a free kick. Oh, I thought that was in. Little is happening in the second half. I would have liked Matt Target to be a little bit more narrow than this. Possibly a fullback role could do that job, possibly. But I do like the amount of tackles that wing backs win on this game. And that there wraps up this game, and it is 3-0 to Newcastle. A comfortable game here against Burnley, where we got to see some attacking play against Manchester City. A lot of it was set pieces, but still we should have won that game. We did have 2 1-on-1s and we missed both of them. But that wraps up this game, wraps up this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, kind of this new way of analyzing tactics. So if you did enjoy it, like this video, give it a big thumbs up, leave in the comments as well if you have any tactical recommendations. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. Peace out. Bleep.